everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Wednesday Wisdom. My name is JB Hilliard, and this week I want to talk very briefly about something called spendthrift provisions. A spendthrift trust or a spendthrift provision in a trust is basically where you have limitations on what your beneficiary can receive or how they receive it. So it was initially or historically created for those beneficiaries who aren't so great at managing money or managing assets or property they may get in their hands. So as to prevent those types of folks in your family, your loved ones, from just spending their inheritance all willy-nilly and just wasting what you've provided them or what you've given them. And it can serve a couple other purposes as well. A lot of times it may not just be someone who's not good with money, but maybe someone who has some sort of addiction, drug addiction or alcohol addiction, and so you don't want them spending money on those types of things, so you want to have someone in place to manage that for them. And it can also serve as a protection hedge for those creditors of those beneficiaries. So for example, a creditor can't come after the trust, the assets or the income or the property in a trust, even though that belongs ultimately to the beneficiary. They can't come directly to the trust to get access to it. So that protects those trust assets from those outside creditors. However, you can't create that for yourself, so you can't dodge your own creditors by creating a trust for yourself and making yourself a beneficiary. It doesn't quite work like that. But for other beneficiaries you name, that can be a protection of those assets there. And it can also serve as protection of those assets down the road against, well, let me back up. For the creditors, it doesn't include all debts. So, you know, those ones that some folks can never get away from, primarily child support and alimony, those kind of fall outside of that protection. Also, that none of us can ever get away from certain government debts. So taxes come to mind, state and federal, and any other types of governmental claims probably won't have that protection either. So I just wanted to make sure I mention that before I head on to the next thing. But the other thing I wanted to mention is if the opportunity were to arise where your beneficiary gets married down the road and then perhaps later divorced. So spendthrift provision or spendthrift trust could also protect those assets in the trust against divorce, against being considered marital property in the case of a divorce where a claim from the other spouse could be made on those assets. So when you're thinking about estate planning and particularly leaving a legacy within your family, when you don't want creditors dipping into those assets or that property, or you don't want spouses who eventually become ex-spouses dipping into those family assets or property, then you may want to consider using that type of provision in your estate plan documents. So just another helpful tip. Hopefully that was something that will get you to thinking about things and planning out things appropriately with your estate planning professionals. And until next time, as always, I thank you for watching.